Hey guys, I'm going to do a tutorial video for you today showing you how to make a survival bracelet with paracord. So the materials you're going to need is paracord, a 3/8 inch buckle, you're going to need a lighter, tape, and rulers are optional, along with a cute bearded dragon, totally optional to help you out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my GoPro here on this table, and what that's going to allow is to have a perspective point of view to help you with this process. That'll allow you to pause, replay certain parts of the video, and make it really simple for you to be able to follow along with that. Oh, you also will need a scissors. I think I forgot to mention that part. So we're gonna move this little gal out of the way. To start, I'm gonna be using gold and green. I'll use these two buckles. I'm a Packer fan, so that kind of will pair well. This is a 10-foot piece of paracord. And like I said, this is a 3/8 inch buckle right here. What you're going to first do is unravel the paracord. This is a 10 feet section. Unless if you have a very large wrist, you probably won't end up using the entire 10-foot section. These bracelets are sometimes called survival bracelets because paracord can be very useful in survival situations. As you'll see here, I kind of snipped the end of one here, and you'll notice the very thin strands inside of the paracord. It consists of, let's see, it looks like about 8 strands in this one. It might vary based on the brand you get, but that allows you to use this stuff for like fishing line if needed in a survival situation. The weave that I'm going to show you is, I think, the simplest weave to make a paracord bracelet. It's called the Cobra weave. It's essentially simplified square knots. What you're going to do to start is I want you to find these two ends and line them up, grab them here. Hey, what are you doing? You want to be in the frame, huh? Anyways, you are going to line these two ends up and grab this part right here. What you're going to do is have these two ends, and you're going to find this end right here. I'm now going to pinch this part because I know that this is the absolute center of my paracord rope. Then you're going to take your buckle. I want you to start by just like opening your buckle, make sure it works. All right, and make sure you identify which side is the flat side and which side is the forked side. Notice there's a little bit of a curve to your buckle. This is important. You don't want your buckle to sit on your wrist like that. You want it to match the curve of your wrist. Okay, so flat side of your buckle, the top curve, I want you to take this rope right here and you're gonna feed it through that opening right there. It might be a kind of a snug fit. If you need to use a pen or something to help guide it through, you can. But you're gonna grab this part right here. You've got it through there with the top curve. You're gonna pull it a little bit, and then what you're going to do is take these strands and pull them through this way. What that will do, you can then pull them tight, and it'll cinch down on that buckle. No, this is not food for you. Nice try though. Once you get to this point, what you're going to do is, okay, she's hunting for this thing. I better put her away. You can come back out near the end of the video, but right now you're too distracted by the buckle. All right, we're back in action. At this point, I'm gonna hold it here. Just double check too. The cool thing about the video, you don't have to be a pro at building a paracord bracelet. If you feel like you need to replay a step, go back 15 seconds and just double check that you're at the right point here. You want this curve and then the knots coming this way. All right. At this point, you're gonna feed this down. When I say feed this down, I mean like I'm trying to make sure that all this is flat, okay? And I get down to the end here. If these ends don't line up perfectly, it's fine for now. Doesn't really matter as long as they're close. But I'm gonna take these two ends now and I'm gonna feed them through the top of the forked side, okay? Now at this point, once you go through the top part of that, I'm going to show you two options for measuring the size of it. The first option is I'm going to just keep feeding this through. And this right here is going to determine the size of the bracelet. So this would be a very small bracelet. This would be a bigger bracelet. You can do this strategy and kind of estimate. You don't want it to be, if you do it this tight, it's not going to fit. If you're testing it like this, you want to have about 2 fingers being able to fit through that, okay? Once it's at that point, you can unclip the buckle and make sure you don't lose track of where that's at. Right here is where that's going to be. This is going to be my bracelet with the buckles. Now, another option, if you wanted to do it a different way, you could just use a ruler to help you with this. You can measure the size of your wrist this way. And you can take it from here, go like tight to kind of tight to the wrist, and mark this and measure it. This is a 8-inch brace, 7 3/4 inch measurement for my wrist. Now they say to add 1 inch so it's not too tight. So if the wrist length is 7 3/4, I would want to have it 8 3/4, and that would want to be your size. So we'll kind of see right here from the end of the flat part to this part of the buckle, end of the flat part, this part of the buckle. See, when I did it, it was 9. So it might be, depends if you want it to be a little bigger or a little smaller. I recommend making them a little bit bigger. I'd rather have it a little bulkier. That's more paracord opposed to too snug. But for the most part, since not everyone's gonna have a ruler on hand, let's really focus on this strategy right here. So where they were clipped, you can clip them back together. Okay, and then just double check once again. You don't want it completely snug. Get it snug and then make sure 2 fingers can fit between that. And that's gonna be a perfect size for it. All right, once that's done, unclip it. And don't let that slide. If for some reason it slides or you're having a hard time with it, that's where the ruler method can work out for you. But at this point, what you're going to want to do is you are going to have that curved part is going to be facing down. So that curve is slightly facing down and have the forks pointing up at you. Make sure that these middle strands are even, okay? And you're going to kind of keep them tight. And we're gonna do our first loop here, okay? So you're gonna take the left side, you're gonna put it over that, pinch it with your thumb there, then you're gonna take this, you're gonna go over this one. Remember, this is the one that came all the way out here. I'll get that out of the way so you can see it. You're gonna have this go here, take this strand, over this part, behind this part, and through that loop. And I'm going to pull that through, and at this point, cinch that tight. That was my first knot on that side. Okay, take a look at it. We're good to go. This is still straight, even. I'm going to now do the same thing on the other side. This time I'm going right side. There's my loop. I'm taking the left side over this part, behind and back through. And then cinch that tight. Now, if all this rope is in your way, this is where I recommend getting a piece of tape. I'll show you how this works. You'll take a piece of tape, put it down right here, and that's gonna allow it kind of easier to work on this without it kind of getting in the way. So I'm back to the left side. Left, over here. I'll push this camera down. Okay, so here we go again. loop on the left, over this, behind this. And then I gotta pull all that extra part through. Some people, honestly, like if it's so bulky, you could cut some of it off, but then you risk running out. So even though you're gonna have extra, it's better to do it that way. Because of how I have my GoPro set up, it's probably, it probably would actually be easier if you did it at the end of the table, like so. For me, it's obviously challenging because I had my GoPro there, but this might work for you too, to have it set up like there if you want to use the tape method, and then there's not a table in the way here, so you can go back to the loops right there. Especially for kids with smaller hands, I feel like it is very helpful to tape it on the edge of the table like this. So I kind of maneuvered my GoPro mount so you can kind of see that process. It's just less stuff in the way by doing it this way. Like I said, don't forget to slide that up. Otherwise it's gonna be a looser weave. And pull those things tight. You're not gonna break this paracord stuff. It's extremely strong. Hence why it's used in a lot of survival situations. And you're just continuing that over and over and over. As you're getting closer, just keep focusing on this being straight down. Visualize how it's gonna close, right? You've got the curved ends, curved end, closing right there. If you ever want to double check that the size of it is going to work out, you can do that also. If you notice that it's like going to be too small or way too big, it's better to catch that earlier and change it opposed to getting all the way done. Right now this looks like it might be a little loose on me, but that's because I haven't finished the weave on all of this part. It's actually gonna be just about perfect. So I can unclip it and keep going. We're getting near the end here. A reminder, if you ever forget what side to go to next, notice how this is looped here and this is where the two come together. That's where you want to start with that one. I guess it's hard to, it is a little bit hard to tell, but try to just remember left side, right side. I'm continuing to pull it pretty tight every few loops. Try to push that up, make sure it's snug. So here I'm starting on the left side. At this point, it's easy to accidentally get it underneath it because there's not much length here. So make sure it still goes over. Now, if you're not at this point in the video yet, you probably want to just pause the video and keep getting to where you're down near the end here. If you are at this point, you're gonna kind of keep going. Once you get to this point, it looks like I might be able to sneak one more in there. Actually, something looks a little goofy here. I'm gonna undo that last loop. Anytime you need to, you can undo that last loop. At this point, it looks like I could maybe try to get one more in there. I'm gonna give it a try and see how it looks. If it's too tight, I can always undo that. Oh yeah, I think one more fit perfect. So, at this point, this last one, really wanna pull that one really, really tight. Double check that your sizing of it is nice. Perfect. Perfect. It's not going to slide off. And at that point, it's done. To finish it up, we just got to cut these ends. Give it one more tug for good measure. And then use your scissors. Don't cut it right at the very part, but leave like a little bit of space right here. Right there. And right there. Once that's done, we got to make sure that those ends don't unravel. So we're going to take the lighter. You got to be careful with this not to burn all of your paracord, and just kind of hover it underneath it. It'll kind of melt a little bit and shrivel up. And if you have like the edge of a scissors, it can help to push that down to kind of flatten that out of the way. And then do the same thing for the other side. And that's it. Paracord bracelet is completed. Pretty simple to do. Very durable. You can do a lot of different color options, but that's the simplest weave that I've ever found to do with these. You technically could make a bigger one for a dog collar or something like that. But yeah, hope this tutorial video helped you. Make your own. Thanks for watching.